Hi everyone, this is just a quick update on the COVID-19 response and employment matters relating to that. Thankfully, no whole-scale changes or rewriting of the guidance this week, but there have been some amendments, starting with the guidance for the coronavirus job retention scheme. We are now on to version 7. That came out a couple of days ago. Thankfully, only minor changes relating to fixed-term contracts. The distinction and various outcomes for those who started employment between the 28th of February and the 19th of March, or who left during that time, and the fact that furlough agreements reached collectively now count and do satisfy the requirements of the scheme. The portal for claiming payment has now been open since Monday. All the reports we've received directly have been overwhelmingly positive. I suppose the crunch time is when it comes to hoping the payment falls into the bank account. There were 67,000 claims in the first 30 minutes. As of Thursday evening, we were up to 435,000 claims covering 3.2 million workers. The British Chamber of Commerce has estimated that 71% of companies have furloughed some staff to a degree, with 30% furloughing 3/4 or more of their workforce. The government previously announced a statutory sick pay rebate scheme, so if individuals were self-isolating or household isolating for 7 or 14 days, the government would reimburse statutory sick pay up to a maximum of those 14 days. HMRC released its quarterly bulletin yesterday, simply stating that they are continuing to work on the repayment mechanism and employers will be updated in due course. So it is worth mentioning that the rebate scheme will be in place soon, we hope, and that you can claim up to 14 days per employee, but only where sickness relates to the virus itself or self-isolation on government guidance. Testing for coronavirus is now being ramped up. This now includes all essential workers, whereas previously it related to critical workers only. There is a list of roles which are included on the gov.uk website, Coronavirus 19 Getting Tested, which defines what an essential worker is. That link does suggest that testing kits will be limited initially, and I know they ran out shortly after the website opened yesterday, so the government is pushing people to go to the drive-in centres wherever possible, and facilities will be more heavily used. So heavily used, in fact, that yesterday the government had to withdraw the website until 24 hours later because all the appointments were booked up. They stressed it did not crash. The appointments were simply fully booked. The link is now live as well for essential workers to actually book the tests themselves. They have to be an essential worker and be self-isolating because of their own symptoms or someone in their household. There is a referral mechanism for some employers to use, and I understand that some social care organisations have been written to by the local authority with instructions for arranging tests directly through the local CCG or NHS centres. Moving on to holidays, it was finally confirmed last week, I think as we reported, that employees can take holiday during furlough, and also that up to 4 weeks of statutory leave can be carried over to the next 2 holiday years if this cannot be taken for reasons relating to the virus. So a lot of our clients have been looking for the middle ground here. So for both employees who are continuing to work and those who are furloughed, many businesses are mindful of the fact that they don't want a significant amount carried over and also don't want a significant amount stacking up for the end of this holiday year. The middle ground seems to be to allow some leave to be carried over if it can't be taken by the end of this year, but for a proportionate amount of leave to be taken over the next 2 to 3 months. So that may be giving notice to take 2 or 3 days each month. We also have the benefit of the bank holidays, which is extinguishing some leave. And I expect that some businesses may actually operate an extended Christmas shutdown as well, which might well match the 2-week school closures, and that is possible to require employees to take leave at that time. We've also already been discussing bringing back individuals from furlough. The first consideration really is that if somebody's coming back to a physical workplace rather than doing any work remotely or at home, the business will have to ensure that social distancing measures are put in place to maintain health and safety and to provide reassurance to employees. So we know that B&Q have started to reopen their stores, there's car manufacturing plants have reopened. That is on the strict condition that measures have been put in place to ensure that social distancing is respected. Next, in the same way that employees were selected for furlough, I suppose an employer now has to decide how to select people to come back. Many businesses will want to ensure that those who are shielding or those who are living with people who are currently shielding on NHS guidance remain protected, so they may be the last people to come back from furlough. Other employees generally might just be reluctant to come back because of risks they perceive to their health and safety while we are still on a strict form of lockdown. The underlying position, though, is that if there is work to do and an employer wishes to bring somebody back from furlough leave, the employee is generally obliged to come back to work. If that's not the case, if they insist on remaining at home where the business decides there is no justifiable reason to do so, it would be a case of possibly discussing unpaid leave or annual leave to cover this, or at the more harsh end of the scale, making it clear that returning to work is a reasonable instruction and that formal action might follow as a result. Hopefully we don't get to that stage and employees will be reassured about the maintenance of health and safety in the workplace. And finally, just to let you know, we're looking at further video content around general business planning in the next few weeks. So whilst the lockdown exit does remain uncertain, we wanted to touch on the planning elements that we've been focusing on, as well as those of our proactive clients. And we will give an update on that shortly. Thank you.